Welcome to Knowledge for College. Thank you for joining us for this evening's Facebook Live session, where we're going to talk about the myth of scholarships. While we're waiting for people to join us, I like to start out by telling you a little bit about Knowledge for College. We are America's premier college planning resource. We help you find the right college, get into the right college, and pay the right price for college. And some of that comes into managing our expectations when it comes to paying for college. And that's what we're going to talk about today when we talk about the myth of the full ride scholarship and the myth of private scholarships in general. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start talking right now about the scholarship. We're going to start out with private scholarships, and then we're going to move to merit scholarships and athletic scholarships and the money you get at the college or the state level. So let's first start out by talking about private scholarships. And I think some of the myth of private scholarships is the reason we have these unrealistic expectations of private scholarships is that we hear all the time, we read in the newspaper, we hear there's $1 billion of unclaimed scholarships, and we just get into this mode of thinking, well, I can do it better, and I'll figure out how to get some of that $1 billion. So I'm pretty active in my local area high schools, and I'm often invited to go to their financial aid nights. I have a table, I might give a talk, and 9 times out of 10 there's somebody from the state of Florida. I live in Florida, and there's somebody from the state there. She tells a story about the $1 billion of unclaimed scholarships and how she worked with this one student, and the one student got a $25,000 scholarship because she was the only applicant. And I know what those parents are thinking in the audience, because if they're motivated enough to come to a financial aid night, I can tell you they're probably motivated enough to think this way. So, because I would have thought this way, right? So what they think is, $1 billion of unclaimed scholarships? Well, I'm going to make sure we claim them, right? I can help Johnny. Johnny and I can sit down together. I will make it that he is going to sit down once a month or twice a month, and he's going to sit down and apply for these scholarships. And we're going to say, and we'll figure out how to get these scholarships. Well, I've got to tell you, you could get the $25,000 scholarship. You could also win the lottery. This is like the scholarship lottery. And so many people focus their money. They might not admit it, but in their head they're thinking, I can get this money. There's $1 billion out there. Surely I can get this money. I read a study the other day that talked about how only 7% of freshmen actually get private scholarships. 7%. And out of those, the average scholarship amount is $1,982. So it's not that I'm saying that we don't apply for any scholarships. What I'm saying is we apply to selective scholarships, and those are the local scholarships that I recommend you apply to. The $500 to $2,500 scholarships, especially if those small scholarships require an essay, 9 times out of 10 nobody applies for those, but the attainable ones. So I have my students, we have a remind system, and I have my students, I'm reminding them every other Monday for the first 3 or 4 months of school to go check with guidance. Go check with guidance, find out what local scholarships have come in, where can you apply, make sure they know that you're very interested, because that's the resource. I know our local Clay Chamber has a fabulous several scholarships. Clay Electric has a scholarship. The Rotary Clubs typically have scholarships. The Lions Club may have a scholarship. There's lots of local scholarships, but the problem is that people get so caught up in trying to get these $10,000 or these $25,000 scholarships that nobody goes after these smaller scholarships. And so what I would encourage you to do is adjust your expectations of how much scholarship money is going to be paid for college, and then but still apply, or still have your son or daughter apply. I'm a big believer that they need to take ownership of this process. But I have a senior and a junior, and I know that it's difficult to get them, but they need to apply for these scholarships. Those are the ones that are attainable, and those are the ones I encourage you to apply to. And what I want to just put it in a little bit more perspective, what I want you to think about is that when the cost of a state school, the sticker price of a state school is typically around $21,000, $22,000 per year. Most scholarships, like I said, that are attainable are between $500 and $2,500. People get about 1 in 10 scholarships they apply to. That's a lot of scholarships to even pay for the first year. Most of these scholarships are also just 1 year. So let's say you do win the Nike $25,000 scholarship. How are you going to pay for years 2, 3, and 4? And again, when we work with families, we make sure you have a plan to pay all 4 years of school. Oftentimes, and this is a little off topic, but oftentimes what I have is people come in to see me, we're talking, we're reviewing their 8 award offers, and they're like, but Michelle, I've got the money to pay for the first year. Why don't we worry about next year? We're not going to worry about next year, because it never works out to your favor, right? We end up panicking and twisting ourselves into a financial pretzel, and I just don't want you to do that. So that's kind of the myth of the private scholarships. They're there. I do want to encourage seniors next year, rising juniors, to apply, but look for those local scholarships. I would also make a note and have you, if you work at a company, ask them, do they have a college scholarship? You'll be surprised. Many companies do have college scholarships. They're just not widely known about. And so make sure you go to Human Resources and see if your son or daughter is qualified for that. So let's move on to the next topic, which is private scholarships. And no, excuse me, we just talked about private scholarships. Let's talk about athletic scholarships and merit or academic scholarships. So what happens is, now we may not say this out loud, but let's say we have a fabulous athlete in our son or daughter is a great athlete. And again, we might not express this out loud, although some people do, and I know you've met those people because I've met them either on the track or football or soccer field, where they just think their child is the cat's meow, and they're already telling people they're going to get full ride scholarships and this, that, and the other thing. And you may be even thinking, I don't see it, but I'm glad you do. But anyway, what we have to just be sure that we understand is that that's not how scholarships work. So you might be able to get some money to play athletics in college, but it is very rare. That is also true on the merit side. So oftentimes we're told, right, your child is the valedictorian, your child is going to get a full ride scholarship. And so we mix a little bit in the way we think about paying for college. And there are schools that may honor and give a lot of money because you have a bright child, but that's where college selection becomes so important. The missing piece for most people is the college selection piece. Yes, you have a bright child. Yes, they could probably get a full ride or darn near close to it, but they're not going to do that at Georgia Tech. Does that make sense? Or Harvard, or Duke, or Cambridge. You know, especially if you have no financial need-based, if you have no financial need at all, you're going to be paying a lot of money even if you have a smart child. And those are typically the schools that the academically gifted children apply to. And so we're, again, under the misunderstanding that just because my child is smart, they're going to get into Harvard and they're going to go for free. Now, if you make, I know at Rice University, if you make less than $80,000, you do get a full ride. And you have to have the academic standing to get into Rice. So I'm not saying that scholarships are not important, but if you make more than $80,000, guess what? You're probably going to pay quite a bit to go to Rice University or Harvard or Stanford or any number of these Ivy League schools. They're very good to work with if you have a lot of financial need. If you fall into the category of not having financial need according to the government and according to college is different from not having financial need, right? Because I think most families have a financial need for college, and they'll tell you they have a financial need for college. But according to the government, according to the way the colleges look at income and assets, you likely don't have a financial need. And so this again comes into where college selection is critical in your college planning process. So there is money there. We just have to know what schools give it, what schools are merit-based versus need-based financial aid. Because again, we hear from our neighbor, well, Johnny is going to go to Cambridge for free. Oh, and I know what you're thinking. You're privately thinking, hey, if Johnny can go there for free, I know Susie is smarter than Johnny, so Susie can probably also go for free. But what I've got to say is that that's not how merit scholarships work, right? It is likely that Johnny was smart enough to get in, but he's going at that particular college. We don't know what kind of need-based money they're getting, and it could be quite substantial. So you just have to have an understanding of the whole how the scholarship works. It's a really good in athletics too, because we hear that, oh, so-and-so, a scholarship. Now, they don't say full ride, but we hear, my Johnny got a scholarship to run track or play soccer or play football at XYZ University. And I know what some of you think, right? Well, Susie is a much better soccer player than Shelley is. And so I know that Susie is going to get more money. If she got a scholarship, then surely my daughter can get a scholarship. And sometimes these athletic kids pay very little for college, but they say it like she got a full ride offer to go and play soccer. And so we mistakenly hear she got a full ride offer for playing soccer. And again, I know my son or daughter is more gifted athletically than they are, so I'm going to expect that same thing. And that's just not how it works. What we don't know and what we'll never know is what part of that was athletic aid, what part of that was financial need-based aid, and what part of that was merit aid. Typically, for most sports, there's very few sports that pay full ride, and very few schools that give full ride athletic scholarships. So it's typically a combination of need-based aid, merit aid, and then perhaps a little sports money. But again, parents don't tell us that, right? They just say Johnny got a full ride and he's playing soccer, and what we hear is that he got a full ride soccer scholarship. So we assume that our son or daughter is going to get the same, or at least get offered. So again, it goes all the way back to college selection. There are places where your son or daughter can play sports or be academically gifted. This is also the way it works from a merit aid standpoint. We have to find those schools where our son or daughter is a wanted student, and we can negotiate the best aid award package for them. So the other thing is that sometimes I talk to parents and they'll say, oh, we were just offered a full ride scholarship at XYZ University. I said, really? Did they say full ride or full tuition? Tuition. Full tuition is very different from full ride. And so if you're in that category right now where you're maybe have a rising senior who's an athlete, and you're talking to coaches, which if you want to play in college, you should be talking to some coaches, and you hear full tuition, just make sure two things. Before you commit to a college, and this is going off on the athletic tangent a little bit, but before you commit to a college, make sure you have something in writing, and make sure you understand the package, because that's going to be critical. Once you commit to a college, you've lost your leverage to negotiate. So I'm not a huge believer in committing early, but if it makes sense financially for you and you know what your financial obligation is going to be and you're willing to pay it, then by all means go ahead and commit. But that's getting a little off topic. I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of how college scholarships work both in the private sector as well in the athletic and merit aid sector. We just don't want to make the assumption that because Johnny got a full ride somewhere and my child is smarter than Johnny, that all of a sudden we're going to get that same full ride offer. Because 9 times out of 10, some of that money is need-based, financial need-based aid, and or merit aid, and certainly if we can throw in the athletic aid, or the band aid, or, that sounded kind of funny, but what I was meaning is if you play in the band or you play a musical instrument, there's money sometimes there. But again, it's not the panacea that we all think it is. College selection is critical. Understanding the process, how it all works, that's critical so that you pay us for college. So speaking of that, I'm actually having a webinar tomorrow, and I've scheduled a couple for this weekend, but tomorrow at 6 I'm having a webinar. So if you'd like to join me tomorrow, you can go to my website, Knowledge for College, knowledge4college.com, knowledge4college.com, and register for that webinar. You can also register on my Facebook page. Certainly if you have any questions, I normally charge $125 to have a college strategy session, but I'm certainly, if you let me know that you join me on a Facebook Live session, I will waive that fee, and I would be happy to answer any of your questions. Usually takes between 45 minutes to an hour, and like I said, I'm happy to help you. I think this is a big financial, this is college, sending our kids to college is hazardous to our bank account. And I just want to make sure that you make the best informed decision that you can. So thank you for joining me. I appreciate you tuning in. And if you have any ideas for any Facebook Lives that you're interested in, please let me know. I'd be happy to schedule those in future sessions. So Thank you. I appreciate your time, and if you haven't already done so, please like my Facebook page. Thanks so much, and have a great evening. Bye-bye.